Today we're going to be working on part 2, the sewing. These are the supplies you're going to need. Ribbon or trim, whatever you're going to need in your own colorway to fix your little items. The same thing with a needle and thread. You're going to need the thread to match whatever you're fixing. I use snaps, but you can choose whatever fasteners you like, Velcro, hook and eye, whatever. You're going to need a good pair of scissors, maybe a regular size pair and a small pair. You're going to need some kind of fabric type glue. This is just what I have right now. I already said in my other one that I prefer the Loctite, and a toothpick. Those are all the supplies you're going to need, and I only went over this because I'm sure there are going to be people who don't watch the prep part, which is fine. I just want you, if you are following along, to know what I used. So we're going to close here, and we're going to take you on in to the sewing. To fix these little pants, I've got my needle and thread already ready. Now, I did want to say that I over thread my needle. This is really long, see, when I sew for y'all, but it's not something I recommend if you're somebody who's new to sewing. Don't make your thread as long as mine. Make it, normal, like long, but not as long as mine. Mine's like 3 times as long as you need it. But I know I'm going to do a lot of sewing, and I don't want to have to keep threading my needle repeatedly, so I over, threaded it so that I don't have to worry about it. Now, you see how on this side you can see it's all gone completely, and on this side it's still remaining. So what you're going to want to do, so that you don't have to re-sew the whole thing, and that you know that your fix is going to last, I come in lower than I need to, where it's still sewn at the factory, and that's where I start. And I'm going to do a little overlocking stitch here, where I go under and then pull, and it makes a knot. See it making a little knot there. And I'm not going to pull down really, really tight on that. I'm just going to pull it taut. And then I'm going to come back in underneath where I sewed and make a stitch. See, this can get, why I said, if you're a novice sewer, don't do that. It can get caught, and it can just be really a pain. And I've done it to myself a million times. Now I'm going to do a back stitch because I want this to last, but you can do a straight line stitch. And a back stitch is just where you take, see how that kind of did that? You don't want that. And I go back in the middle. See where my stitch came out? And I go back kind of in the middle of that. Everybody does a back stitch different, but this is just how I do it. And then I come out before, see where my old stitch was. So it's just kind of like, it's a reinforcing stitch. I don't know how to say it any other way. It just works better. And I'm doing it real slow here for you guys so you can see me doing it. But I would, do this a lot faster otherwise. Because this is such a small little space, it doesn't need that many stitches. And I just want it to be good so that I can use it on a doll or whatever I want to do with it, and not have to worry about the little, tush imperfection. And now, of course, I did white thread. They did orange thread. I'm not going to, try and match orange thread to these pants, because that's too much for me, and you won't be able to tell unless you really yank on my stitches that it's different. So, and I'm going to go up pretty much to the top just because it did come loose. So I'm just going to sew all the way up to the waistband here. See, that's what I was talking about. Sometimes that will happen where it's like it gets caught and you have to pull the threads and then do that. That's from, you know, having your over thread needle, too much thread on your needle and trying to pull it through. Sometimes it doesn't want to. So that's pretty much all. I'm just going to tie off. I'm going to do one of my tie off stitches where I go like this. And see how that did? That's what I was trying to tell you about, to avoid. See how that like knotted on itself? And then I just go through here, and that makes its own knot. And I'm picky. I'll go back through the other side and make another knot that way, just to be safe, you know, so that I can know that it's gonna stay. Because after I go through all this, I don't want to, like, you know, like, dang it, I sewed all that for nothing. So it's just a me thing. You don't have to be so whatever about it, but I'm not trying to do things 2 and 3 times. I'm just trying to make sure that what I did the first time is gonna last. And I also do that. It's just another me thing. One last little pull through is how I do it. And then I just cut it off. Can't find my big scissors at the moment, even though they're laying here next to me somewhere in a pile. And I always re-knot my thread as soon as I'm done. I don't know why. I think it's because one time I didn't and it came loose on me and I forgot. So now they are all fixed. The little tush has no more hole. See? Yay. Cute. See? No more hole. All fixed pretty, and you can't even see my stitches. I mean, if I really pulled hard, you could probably see them. Yeah, see? I pull really hard, but, you know, just naturally you're not going to be able to see them. So that's all fixed. Now for these little shorts, I decided to use the black snap instead of the silver snap. You know, personal preference, whatever. I just think it'll look better because these are kind of dark denim. And sometimes I do use the bigger sizes depending on whatever I'm using. But for this one, I'm going to just use the smallest one, the smallest size, because, you know, they get bigger. Because it's going to be right there on the tush, and I don't want, like, all that extra bulk. So I'm going to use that. Here's the other little piece. And I'm just going to, I already, you know, threaded my needle. I'm just going to put this in the middle, right there. I'm just going to come in and, you know, it's like sewing on a button. These are really easy. You just got to find the hole first, which can be hard sometimes. There you go. Once you get it through, you just sew around the little holes. That's all I do. Just in and out. Well, not like that, obviously. That's what I'm talking about. Sometimes your thread will want to, like, and this isn't even that long. It's just being stubborn. It just wants to twirl up on you and be a jerk. Apparently this thread is mad at me. There we go. See, it shouldn't have been that complicated. So I'm just going to go around and stitch that, and I'll come back when I'm finished. All done sewing this little side. Now, all I need to do is put the button on the other side. Now for this button, I sew these a little different. I come in under, and I see you hit the hole like that, and I stitch it that way, from going under and then getting the hole, so that I don't come through the front side, so that you don't see my stitches, and so that this still looks pretty. See, so you don't see my stitches. So that's how I stitch this. You just go under my storage was full and it cut off, and I didn't realize that it did. So I lost some of what I was sewing. But basically, like I said, you just come up under and sew it like that. Just so you don't, see the stitches on the other side. You just come up under and pick up like some of that from your, seam allowance where it's folded over. You just pick up a little bit of that and sew it to that. It's really thick here. I was having trouble with this earlier, and this needle is thicker than I'm used to. I usually use a skinnier needle than this, but that's all. It's just a fat needle. So you can tell the difference. See how much bigger that one is than this one. See how skinny this needle is compared to this one over here. Used to the skinnier needle. But I had already threaded this and didn't realize it was so much fatter for doll clothes. So there we go. And I come in and I go across like this. Like I said, this is really, really fat needle, and this is really, really thick here. There's lots of layers to get through, so I'm having to shove it. It is going, but, it won't be this hard for you, I promise. It's just my fat needle and my thick double, what do you call it here? There. I just had to have it up where I could yank on it. And when I do that, I like to do it like 2 times at least. I just like to reinforce it that way. And then what I usually do is I'll take and go like that through my stitches and do the thing where you make a knot, where you go through and you pull down and it makes its own knot. Just because I like it to be reinforced. And then I take, if I can manage it, sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. I go up under and then just have it come out the middle. But I don't know if it's going to let me, so I'm just going to come up through the side here and pull it out and then just trim it off. That way it just has a little bit of extra, even though you already made your knot. It's just for a little bit of reinforcement. And then I always go and knot my thread right away. And I do that. I know there are lots of people who can't do it that way. I don't know how to explain it. I tried to explain it to my cousin to show her how I did it, and she was like, huh? So it was a long time ago. She might not even remember it, but I was trying to show her how I thread a needle and tie it off. So there's that little snap snap. Yay. So those are all fixed. Now for this little dress, we're obviously going to have to switch to our white thread. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do the sleeve first. See how this is off and it's more than just coming apart here? That. It's more than just coming apart. It's sewn off. So what I'm going to do, since it's coming apart anyway, is line it up better. See? Like that. And I'm going to sew it to where it won't be loppy and will be better. So I'm going to come in like this. This is just me doing my like locking stitch thing that I like to do. And then I go like that across, pick it up, and if you do that and you make your knot come down before you're ready, just pick it back up with your needle, because that's happened to me before. And all I'm going to do from here, once I've done my knot stitch, is just do the back stitch like I showed you, where I come back and go out in front. It shouldn't take too long to sew this up, because it's only to like right there, so it's just a couple stitches, and it'll, you know, be so much better. And then once I get to the top here, I'm gonna do a cross like this, see? And then once I get lower, I'm gonna go through and make my little knot stitch to reinforce that, so that'll stay better. Where I've sewed it, I kind of pulled it a little too tight. Kind of shimmy it back out. I just don't want it to be too tight, and I'm going to do it one more time, a little lower, give myself a better knot. Just because I know, you know, pulling things, I'm not going to, you know, probably not going to pull this on and off my dolls a lot, but it's just a me thing. I want to know that if I did it right the first time, so it's going to stay. I'm not going to have to keep going back and redo, you know, what I've already done. Here's my knot again. I don't know how I've always done it. It's just real fast and easy for me, and I've tried to explain it to people, but maybe you seeing me do it will help you if you want to knot your ends like mine. And see how much better that looks now that it's all nice and neat and it's not coming apart and all that. See? Yay. Now what I'm going to do is line it up at the back. See how that's coming apart there. It's stuck on that. There we go. I'm going to line it up back here. See, put it, that's what I mean by line it up. Where this and this meet, so that it's even. And then make sure it's even at the bottom too. And if you want to, I would, if I was somebody who wasn't an expert sewer, or somebody who hadn't been sewing a long time, I would just put a pin here once you've gotten it lined up. That way it doesn't drift when you're sewing. And this is kind of awkward. See, it keeps wanting to stick to that, so I'm going to try and hold that backwards if I can. There. But that's where you want it to meet up, at the top and then at the bottom, so that it, once you sew it, it won't look all funny and you won't be like, oh god, what did I do? So all I'm going to do for this is just a simple back and forth stitch, you know, in and out, whatever, back stitch kind of thing. And I'm gonna start here at the bottom and do my little weird thing that I like to do, where I come across and make my knot. I just feel like that works better, and then I know where I'm coming from. And then I can just go in and start sewing. And see how it's matched up now at the bottom, and not like this. That's how it was before. It needs to be matched up. So I'm going to do a couple stitches. I'm going to remove this pin because it's in my way. But like I said, if you're someone who doesn't sew a lot or is nervous about it, definitely pin it. Pins are cheap and easy. Just trying to get low here. I know that seems silly, but since I'm gonna do my like in and out back stitch kind of thing. And see, this is the kind of thing I was saying will happen. Oops, bumped my camera. And you know, there's nothing wrong. Freak out. It happens a lot. It even happens to me, who's been sewing for forever. It's just when it gets twisted, see, I don't know why that happens. It just happens. And you just have to keep untwisting it and pulling it when you overload your thread, like I did. Like over thread your needle. Put too much thread on it. But, you know, I knew I was going to be sewing a lot, so I didn't want to have to keep threading it. So that's the purpose of that. I know I said that once already, but some people might be like, why does she do that? But anyway, I'm just going to do a couple back stitches for you. And then I'm going to pause and finish so that you guys don't have to watch me just, you know, straight line stitch sewing this all the way up. That would be silly. Do 2 more stitches just so you guys can see how I do it. See, I go back and come out before, and that for me is how I keep track and keep my stitches in like mostly a straight line. Like, I'm not perfect, sometimes they waver or drift a little, but I've gotten way better at it. Like, they are pretty straight now from when I first started, but you know, it's all a learning process with sewing. And once you're comfortable with it, you will be able to do so many things, and you'll be like, why didn't I do this before? Or why didn't I learn this before? Why was I so scared of it? Because, you know, I didn't think I could sew when I was little, and I took a long break where I didn't sew on a machine. I just did everything hand stitched. And, you know, my mom was like, well, you should give it a try again. And we got a newer machine that wasn't that old funky machine that she had. And I don't know, just something clicked, and I just started sewing, and there was a pattern that I wanted to use to make something for everybody for Christmas once I got comfortable enough with sewing. And I made my whole family a set of like really nice double-sided placemats for their table and napkins that were like matching, and I just had a really good time, and they were beautiful, and they were all hand done, and everybody couldn't believe it. They were like, oh my god. And I was like, I don't know, in my teens, but you know, anyway, there's that. And I'm just gonna finish sewing, but like I said, I'm not gonna make you guys watch it all. And I finished stitching all the way up, and I trimmed off, but see, it's still, and I don't want to trim anymore because it's getting low. So what I'm going to do is put some, I trimmed off like all of these. What it's doing is getting really low to where I sewed, and I don't want to trim anymore. So I'm just going to like put some glue or fray stop or something there. But that's all done. It's all back together. Super cute. Looks so much better without the ruffle to me. Love it. And I'm going to show you like it more fixed, like after I do the little glue thing. I'm going to show you how I do that at the top, and then I'm going to show you these all obviously on dolls so you can see what they look like. These are all the things I've worked on so far, and they're pretty much done, and so is this little dress. But I told you I was going to show you. What I do is I open my E6000 and I take like a toothpick, and I just get a little on it, because if you squeeze this, it'll just send glue out for days. That's one of the reasons I don't like it, because you can't, like the jar that it's in, once you've squeezed it, I've tried to unsqueeze it and it just won't unsqueeze, and it just sends tons of glue out, and it's super wasteful. And it has a little bit of an odd smell that does go away after it dries some, but I don't care for it, if I'm being honest. But I paid the money for it, so I'm going to use it. And, you know, when it's gone, I'm probably not going to buy any more unless I use it for, like, gluing my fiance's shoes together. It works good for that, but then, again, so does the other glue that I like better. So, See, I'm just kind of wiping it on there. And that's all I do. I just get a little bit. So it's not a lot. It's just a little. And I'm just gonna, you know, like wipe it. I try to twirl it underneath. And see how it caught some of the strings there. I'm getting a little more glue. And then there, I just dab it over all of that. And then this side over here that I haven't gotten, just kind of do a little like dab it down, and then I try to go under it like that so that it'll lay down. But since that one little stinking thread wanted to come up, it's giving me trouble, but we'll get it. It's the kind of things that, you know, you can't plan for, and they just happen, and you just have to, you know, figure it out. And I've done a lot of that over time. But this is how I do it, because I don't want a lot of glue. I just want a little to like stop this from fraying and all that goodness, and to lay down better. So what I'm going to do is pull this string up like that. Take my scissors, probably these little ones will work better, and just trim that off there so that I don't have to deal with that. Sorry if that wasn't in focus, but there. So that's good for that. And since it's just a little tiny bit, you know, it should dry pretty fast. Now I'm going to do the same kind of thing to this here on the back seam. Get a little glue on my toothpick here. And the reason I use a toothpick is, number one, it fits down in the hole. Number two, you can throw it away when you're done, and you don't have to get this glue all over yourself, because I used to try and just like get a little bit of it on my finger and try and do it that way, but I didn't like that. So this is just, you know, this is just another kind of form of, you know, fray stop or whatever you want to call it with this glue, is what it's doing, so that it won't unravel like it was before. And I'm just gonna, you know, kind of paint it on there on the edge. And like I said, it doesn't need to be a lot. It just needs to be enough to keep it from doing that repeatedly. All that kind of fraying stuff. See this here? That's what I'm talking about, that kind of stuff. But there. These places will get more bothered by like pulling the doll in and out. That's why I did this, and like around the neck. And I'll trim that off while I'm at it. This little string here. There. But other than that, this is pretty much finished. I'm just going to set it with these other little pieces here. These are all the pieces that I've basically finished. I'm going to use the same technique on this little dress for the glue, using the toothpick, because I don't want a lot and I don't want it to be like everywhere. So just take it and put it like that on the underneath of this, and I try and make sure that I get it coated. You can see. Do it one more time just to make sure I have good contact, you know, because this is going to be put on and off, on and off, on and off. This will be used the most. Even if I don't, you know, use this dress a lot, it'll still be the part that gets, you know, the most pulling and everything. So I do that, and then I take and mush it down with the fingers. Try to make sure, you know, and press thoroughly and nice and flat all the way up and down, so that the glue makes good contact with the fabric. And all these little darn strings, I keep trying to cut them all as I go. These little fuzzy strings off these little cheapy dresses. So there's that side. I'll do the same thing over here on this side, you know. Take my glue rub it along the little piece here. A little bit more. Sorry, having problems with my storage today, but I think I worked it out. So, it cut off before I was finished doing the second side here, but I got that all finished, and I also glued this down because it was flapping up, and I don't care for that. So what I'm going to do from here is just sew this together on the back, you know, stitch it together like I did this other little dress over here. And I'm just going to do that off camera so you don't have to watch me doing that. And then I'll let you see how that looks like when it's done. I have basically finished this dress. It just needs to dry. I'm happy with how it turned out. I think it looks much better than it did when it had that weird, I keep seeing little strings I want to cut. When it had that weird underpinning, whatever you want to call it. I've hemmed it. I've decided not to sew it back together in the back. I just hemmed it, and I'm going to let the Velcro be its closure because it's already there that I fixed. And it'll probably look way better on now. But I got the front, I dampened the front because of the weird wrinkling from the way it was stuck for so long with that underpinning. So I'm going to let that dry. But other than that, I think this dress is pretty much done. Yay! And this one too. This one's dried now. So this little dress is all finished in the front, and all the little things that I wanted to not fray anymore are all dry, and they're good. Like I can feel at the top here. That's all good. That's not gonna start that anymore. Nice and reinforced. Sorry, I have glue all over my fingers. So that dress is done. I still have to finish working on this dress. I just have to sew this one up. And I did want to say, I don't think that I have anything right now, but I'm going to keep this little trim because I do like it. I just don't think it went with that other dress. And I'm going to use it, I think, as straps. See? I think that would be cute as like straps or sleeves on something. So I'm going to keep this little ribbon, and we'll see if I can't come up with something maybe before I finish doing this video or editing it or whatever you want to say, compiling it. So that's what I'm going to do with this. I've decided that now because I wasn't sure what I was going to do with this. I always try and keep things like that if I can. If I know that they're like, there's nothing really wrong with them and I can use them for something else, I try to do that. And this as well, this piece that I cut off of this other little dress, I think I'm gonna, you know, I'm obviously gonna have to either iron it or get it wet and flatten it and let it dry. And I think I'm gonna make a headband or a bow, something to go with that dress out of this. So if I do, I'll let you see. And this dress is the last dress I have to work on. All I have to do is the little straps. And I've got the ribbon right here. I'm just trying to pick the plastic thing off that's holding it down. This thing. I'm trying to pick that off so that I can get at the ribbon. And I love this ribbon. And it matches this pretty well. You know, especially for me not having it with me in the store. It is thicker. So, you know, if you don't like that, if that's not your thing, I mean, you don't have to use thicker ribbon. It was just the only thing that they had at Walmart in the right colorway. I mean, I of course could have picked a pink ribbon and then switched this or done whatever I wanted to, but I kind of wanted to stay true to the old dress and, you know, just fix the straps. So I think that's what I'm going to do there. Just, you know, trim them and sew them on. And I don't know if I should, because it'd be real easy so that it would match. Because all I'd have to do is just thread it through the little buckle thing. I'm doing it over here. I'll show you. And then, you know, glue it or sew it. And I would probably just leave the other one underneath and not remove it because of that. But I knew I wouldn't be able to do that really easily in front of the camera the way I have it set up so that I can show you my sewing. But, you know, something like that. It is a little big, so it does kind of bunch it there. But I don't really mind that. And I think, you know, that if the ribbon matches down here and up there, that it'll look better. So I'm probably going to do that. I'm probably just going to, you know, trim it off and then glue it to this ribbon that's already sewn on so that the straps and the little belt will match again. So that's what I'm going to do there. And when I get finished, I'll let you see. All right, I'm going to show you. I'm just going to take my little toothpick with the glue and real easy, I'm going to take it and put it in between so I'm not like making it any worse in there. Try not to get her hair in it. And then on this side as well, just roll it to get the glue off so you don't get too much and it's not everywhere. And then holding her with the other hand is why I had to do it that way. You just press down lightly, and you don't need a lot because this stuff, you know, even though, like I said, it's not my favorite, it does work pretty good. I'm just gonna put a little bit more right there. This side feels more stuck. Right there. And that is that. All it needs to do is dry. That's all for part 2, the sewing. I just put my girl's hair to be cute for you guys so I could film the outro. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope that you will try and sew. I hope that you will fix your little outfits, because I know everybody has a little stash of things that need fixing and you're just like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. So hopefully my video has inspired you to fix some things and sew some, because I really mean it. If you start sewing for your dolls, you're going to love it, because you're going to be able to do so many things and you're going to be like, why didn't I do this sooner? So I hope everybody enjoyed today's video. I hope you sew for your dolls. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you learned something, or at least will have a little inspiration to fix some of your own things. Take care, have a great day, and I will definitely see you soon for part 3, the reveal.